Okay, so to spare you the having to watch the whole test, which is very long and boring, to sum up, this is the TIF ZX-1. I bought it brand new out of the box. Sensor sealed factory case. I like how the manual says right up at the beginning here. And uses the heated pentode, which is similar to a heated diode, except they're getting a patent on it. And let's see, we believe it's the very best portable electronic leak detector available today. And I think this was as of 2010. Yeah, this is their latest though when I go on their website. And 3 parts per million for R410a is not bad. It's still not the 1 part per million, which I'm looking for. And but you get 3 parts per million on this leak detector, which is pretty good. It's a lot better than an H10, which is 34 parts per million, so it's 10 times more sensitive on the R410a. Alright, this is just a test to rule out that the leak detector isn't sensitive to the chlorine in the water. And actually it is slightly sensitive. Okay, here's a bottle of Deer Park bottled water. I'm going to open it up, make sure the leak detector doesn't set off. Shouldn't be any chlorine in this one. Alright. Okay, I switched to non-chlorine based water because the parts per billion of chlorine in the water could set off, because I was using tap water for sending in bubbles of refrigerant. So now what I want to do is establish there's 0 parts per million. I haven't added any refrigerant. And let's make sure there's no sensitivity. First, here's the Bacharach reference leak. You see it's quite sensitive to that. Here's empty, there's no refrigerant in the balloon. Okay. Doesn't like a change in the airflow. So I'm going to have to use the bag on this one. It is sensitive to changes in airflow through the heated sensor. It probably changes the temperature of the sensor. So that's easy to fix. All the testing will be done in a sample bag. So right now I'm going to fill up this bag. You see there, I inflated the bag. This is 0 parts per million. Just trying to establish a baseline that I don't have contamination. Make sure it's non-responsive. So I'm going to open a corner of the bag, put the sensor in. You can see the light there. It's kind of sensitive to any sort of wind blowing on it. You can see I can just blow on it, which is fine. Not too concerned about the wind, but I do want to get accurate part per million tests. So you can see I put it in the bag, no response. And that's what I'm looking for, because I'm 0 parts per million. Okay, now we're going to start adding refrigerant. And I'm going to add bubbles. 10th inch bubbles are going to be 100 parts per billion, or 0.1 parts per million. Well, my balloon popped, and so getting 2 parts per million, I have to use another balloon. This is 1/3 of a million. I got 0.8 of R410, and I'm just going to inject all of this in. 0.8 times 3, that'll be like 2.5 parts per million. And we can see what this leak detector does at 2.5 parts per million. I was optimistic it was going to go below 1 part per million, but it looks like that's not happening as of yet. That wind sensitivity was throwing me off. Let's go ahead and inject everything in this balloon. There we go. So now we got 2 parts per million, R410a. Start up the leak detector. Let that warm up. This leak detector does warm up pretty fast. It's kind of nice. I like that you don't have to mess with the sensor either. It says it automatically raises the heat basically as the sensor ages, and then when the sensor gets too old, it'll just tell you to buy a new sensor. Two parts per million, R410a. This balloon is pretty loud when it popped, I'll tell you. Get a little boom on it. Air out my bag from my previous test, which was 4 parts per million. Let's see if it picks up any residual. Nah, not really. Okay. Squeeze out all my air. I want pure mixture. 2 parts per million. Sensitivity is on high on the TIF ZX-1 because of the double beep. Green means the battery's good. Let's see what we got. Open it up. Stick the probe in. It is a little sensitive. I'm going to touch it. Yeah, 2 doesn't really get it. Barely getting it. You see the 1 green light with 2 parts per million. So I'm going to add 1 more part per million, so that'll be 1/3 of a cc. We'll see how this one does. Alright, now we're back to our 3 parts per million test. Got Mr. Bag here ready. Inflate. Actually, you know what? Let me shake it. It's been a few minutes. Make sure we're shaking up. Okay, inflate the bag. 3 parts per million, R410a. So, one red. Notice that since it's a heated diode, it holds it for quite a while. So I would call this leak detector 3 parts per million, R410A. For R11, which is similar to R22, it's quite sensitive. The Bacharach was showing this is about 0.3 parts per million. So it looks like the TIF is about 10 times less sensitive to the R410A, but it's the best of the leak detectors that I've tested so far. Not too bad.